Are we starting?
Yes. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for joining us today for the first episode of GLINTS. On behalf of the All Indian Schools, teaching fraternity, and students, let me express a deep sense of gratitude.
What happened?
All right, just nothing. Yeah. So, deep sense of gratitude to His Majesty Sultan Haitham bin Tariq Al Said, the benevolent ruler of the Sultanate of Oman, for rendering support to the expatriate community in the most compassionate and generous manner. I congratulate and greet all my Omani brothers and sisters a very happy 50th National Day celebration. Not taking much time, I invite the chief guest for the event, Dr. Baby Sam Samuel, Chairman, Board of Directors, Indian Schools Oman, for his inaugural address, and to formally welcome our guest speaker, Ms. Kiran Bir Sethi, and briefly talk about GLINTS, the new inspiring initiative. Honorable Chairman, Dr. Baby Sam Samuel.
Thank you, sir. Education advisor, assistant education advisors, resource person of the day, Ms. Kiran B. Sethi, the moderator of this session, as well the principal of Indian School Baucha, Mr. Rakesh Singh Thomar, presidents of various Indian schools, principals of all the Indian schools in the Sultanate, dear teachers, good evening. Plan, connect, instruct, engage, facilitate, question, assess, evaluate, validate, correct, re-instruct, encourage. These are just some of the few tasks entrusted of a teacher. The year 2020 has already shown the world what we as teachers are capable of, and has become a lifelong celebration of Teachers' Day, with genuine appreciation from parents who have finally understood that each of you has been and is a foster parent for their child. In the background of COVID-19, it is natural to feel overwhelmed, to feel anxious or stressed. Yet, you as teachers already possess one great tool that researchers consider the secret tool to creativity and leadership, and that is a paradox mindset. That is when we are able to consider and accept two different, perhaps opposing directions simultaneously. Or in other words, when we serve two contradictory demands. To give you an example, doctors or healthcare practitioners, we expect them to provide the highest quality healthcare, but they're also required to offer this at the lowest possible cost. In your case as teachers, you have to be stern and reinforce and enforce hard discipline for the greater good of a student or for class. Being tough to be kind. This and or both approach instead of either or is called the paradox mindset. The researcher says that embracing the paradox mindset, practicing the paradoxical cognition, allows us to break down assumptions and offer new ways of looking at things, boosting innovation, especially this year, when a perfect, seamless balance seems impossible. This mindset may be an asset and tool waiting to be used to balance form and work, push and pull, self and students. Most importantly, You have the vast resources of contemporaries all across the world, all striving to achieve this balance, bringing their own ideas and creativity to this entire process. And as you navigate this tough new landscape of remote teaching and blended learning, why do we need to reinvent the wheel when we have all these examples? GLINTS is such an initiative under the board of directors in the Sultanate of Oman to share the spark of great ideas, to learn and to empower. I take this opportunity to acknowledge Indian School Voucher for their initiative in driving the first edition of Meet the Leader Peer Learning Program forward. I also heartily welcome our speaker of the day, Ms. Kiran Beersethi, to Oman and to the Indian schools in Sultanate. And we look forward to your insights gained as a reformist educator and as a social entrepreneur. Thank you so much, ma'am, for being with us today. I also appreciate all of you, dear teachers, for your earnestness towards this event in learning from the global best practices. As I've said before, the best teacher is one who is themselves an insatiable learner. May each of you learn from the best, be your best, and teach the next generation to be the best version of themselves. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Now, let me take the honor of introducing Ms. Kiran Beersethi, a designer by aptitude who became a teacher, then a principal, and then an educational reformer, and subsequently a movement. The story started in 1996 with her 6-year-old son, who was not allowed to write an essay based on his own creativity and using his own words. And the teacher at that time wanted him to mug up and write exactly what is being taught in the school. This was the moment of thought, the moment of challenge, the moment of change for Ms. Kiran Beersethi to rebel against the education practices and set up Riverside School on the banks of Sabarmati River in 2001. During the last 20 years, she had designed and executed a unique children-centric curriculum. Her initiatives like Design for Change, like FITS, Feel, Imagine, Do, and Share, has made every young mind move from can I to I can. She has transformed and made children real life superheroes. Her innovative approach to real life problem has given her strength and experience to talk with confidence and get people inspired by seeing her initiatives. Design for Change is a global movement which has touched 2.2 million kids in 65 countries. While going through all her links, I have realized she had shared some great thoughts, and each thought is a complete philosophy in itself. Example, not by chance, but by design, speaks a lot about that we cannot just leave things to luck. We have to work for it. Then her thought, our choices defines who we are, is a great introspection for all of us. Then it is all about making difference than being different is a very inspiring thought. And most importantly, when she said, you cannot change somebody's life without changing your own. And the teachers have to be role model without a second thought. Until unless we as a fraternity don't change, we cannot expect our children to follow and then do something more innovative than what we have done in past. And the most importantly for everybody, for the principal, for the teachers, and for parents, for everybody, change takes time. We often get restless and lose our patience even when we initiate something wonderful. That restlessness kills that initiative. So the last 20 years of success and the movement which Ms. Kiran has created is going to inspire us and will subsequently pass on that inspiration from us to our children who are looking forward to us in this time of lockdown and crisis. So I invite Ms. Kiran Bir Sethi to take the stage and mesmerize and inspire us by her work and thought, and leave us with something which we will further hatch and make it come true to a country, wonderful country called Oman. Ma'am, all yours.
Thank you. That was it's 20 years in 2 minutes. So, so that's quite a sort of summary of what's happened. Well, thank you everybody for inviting me to Oman, and Happy New Year in Diwali, wherever you are. This has been very interesting times, 2020, and I think it'll be etched, like Dr. Samuel said, as the right respect that teachers need. I think we've been no less than essential workers. You know, I think everybody keeps talking about the first line, and I think the very fact that our children continue to have hope and optimism is really due to all of you tirelessly working, keeping that connection, making our children feel safe. I mean, kudos to all of you. So a big shout out to teachers all over the world. As Sir talked about in the introduction, well, actually my story didn't start with education. And I have to say, I think that was a massive blessing. I didn't have any rules to follow, so I could really ask the questions why and why not. So I'm going to just take a little, 10 minutes to kind of give you a little glimpse of my story so far. So if I could just share, can I have a screen sharing, right, sir, if it's possible? And by the way, you're seeing a little glimpse of my school. Yes. Okay. So here we are. I'm going to kind of just give you a sense. I mean, I'm always a fan of Mr. Gandhi. I think it's a massive reason to continue to have stamina. And I keep saying stamina is way more important than talent. Well, I think he said this so beautifully. He said, if the law of love can best be understood and learned through our children. And I think in a way it becomes like a lighthouse. Whenever you're lost or you're kind of confused or you're feeling tired, I think a lighthouse is a wonderful metaphor to keep guiding you back. And that's exactly what COVID actually got us to do. Well, my story actually started, like I said, not by changing the world. I keep talking about what does it mean to love our children, right? Just consider this. In the first 2 years of, like I said, any child's life on the planet, they go from crawling to sitting to laughing to running all over the world and saying, look at me, mama, I can. And that's the time when we tell our children, chalo beta, mama kaho, papa kaho, come here, say, speak and everything. And then suddenly when they tell us they can, what do? Because we love them, we send them to school. And then everything changes, right? Is it love when we tell them to just sit and listen to us when they are 6 years of age? When we tell them, no, you have to study, please sit down, keep quiet. Or is it love when we actually solve their problems when they're 10? We tell them, shh, not now. Now you have to study, photosynthesis and height of Mount Everest much later. Is it love? Do we love them when we tell them to worry about themselves when they're 14 years of age, when they are just about understanding the world, and we tell them, no, 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 this is the time to study for exams. All of this much later. And finally, I think the worst of it all, is it love when we tell them that their marks equal success? When we tell them that they are only markable and not remarkable? I mean, this is what education has always been. You are a grade, you are a number, you're a statistic. And then we wonder, my God, why are children not creative, collaborative, empathetic citizens of the world? Actually, this is how my story started. This is my son, Rag. When Sir told you, right, when he was all of 6 years of age, he went to school, and I was thinking, oh my God, everybody will love him just like I did. All right, that is the whole purpose. Like, that's the whole reason that you put your most precious being in the hands of a teacher and say, please take care of him. Tell him you will be powerful, and tell him you will be empowered. And 3 months later, I go to his school to try to ask the teacher, tell me about my son. What is his interest? What does he like to do? And she turned around and looked at me with that very teacher expression, I have to say, not all of you in Oman, everywhere else. She looked at me with the same, said, what is his roll number? And that's exactly the problem. All our children just become a statistic. They're not role models, they become roll numbers. And I think that's really what happened to me. And I took him out of school. So imagine this is a crisis, right? So as a parent, I reacted. I said, what is this nonsense? How can schools do this? And that's typically what happens with most parents. They'll either complain or blame. Or they will say, yaar, ye to aise hi tha. Nothing changed. This is the way it's always been. I turned out fine. No, what is the problem? But I think as a designer, I responded to the opportunity. I said, yaar, kuch to karenge. There has to be a better way. And like Gandhiji said, if there is no choice, you are the choice. You are who you've been waiting for. And exactly, I think Sir also said, he said, hope is not your strategy. I mean, there has to be a better way. So I think the question that prompted the design of Riverside was this: if we are human, born human by chance, can we become humane by choice, by design? And that's the need of the hour, right? The idea of humane citizens, that humanity. I keep saying insan or insaniyat ke beech mein bahut farak hai. We are born human, and I don't think we've done a very good job on the planet as a species. But can education play a role of making us humane? Well, so in 2001, I started the Riverside School saying, let me figure this out. So as a team, we started creating processes and practices to make us humane. So what does this mean? The first E of being humane is empathy, the understanding of who I am and what is my impact on others. I think we don't spend enough time on self-awareness. That's not part of the curriculum. We have subjects, but we don't have children. They don't appear in your timetable. So empathy was our first curriculum, our first syllabus. The second was ethics, the idea of always getting our children to kind of choose between doing what is right over what is easy. What is easy for a school is to give exams. What is right is to get children to understand learning, right? So that was the decision making. The third is excellence. It's not about passing and failing. It is about iteration, feedback, and refinement. So that became a huge practice at Riverside. And then elevation. I've seen too many children, when they're writing, they put a hand in front of the plate, paper, so that nobody will cheat or nobody will copy. And the idea of elevation really is to say, we're not here to compete with each other. We're here to complete each other's stories. So share, celebrate, appreciate each other. And the last is evolution. The idea that, I'm only better than yesterday and less than tomorrow. The growth mindset that I can be whatever I want to be. So this really became the humane curriculum. Yeah, I mean, the kids were amazing. They became our co-designers. Portfolios, auctions, citizenship, mastery, learning hub, all of that became the empowered curriculum, all to make them cultivate what we call the I can mindset. Of course, I keep saying this, when children do good, they do well. In the last 15 years, Riverside children have been outperforming the top 10 schools in India in your math, science, and English. So for all the parents who said, making children good human beings, wo sab theek hai, lekin math or science ka kya hai? And I keep saying, when children believe in themselves and they feel a sense of strength and well-being, they will also academically perform. Like Dr. Samuel said, it's not either or, it is both and. Of course, when we knew it was working at Riverside, we said, boss, it has to go to people across the world. So in 2009, we took the same empathy, ethics, the same value proposition Riverside, and distilled it into feel, imagine, do, share, creating what I call the superhero formula to get any child anywhere in the world to be able to make their world a better place, but not as a project. Not like, oh, the teacher comes and says, chalo bete, we will look after hunger, or we will do global warming. No, we have to listen to children. And that will determine the project they will do. So FITS became our great offering. Like you've just mentioned today, children in over 60 countries are changing their world. What are they changing? Like simple things like reducing the weight of their school bags, stopping child marriages, tackling bullying, or taking care of the elderly. They're changing the bad and making it good with the power of their ideas. So I think, why is this important? Why is this message more important? I think it gets children to believe that they have the power to make their world a little bit more beautiful, a little bit more just, and a little bit more equal. I think this is the reason. If you ask most children, they say, why do you go to school? They say, we have tests, so we have to learn subjects. I don't think they believe that school is for them to believe they have to solve real problems, right? So I think this is really important. Also, I think it's very important to get them to believe that they can be the initiators, the participants, and the overseers of change, not just the passive recipients of change. But what I have learned simply this, that this doesn't happen by chance, it happens by design. So in a way, this is a small little nutshell of the work that has happened in 20 years. Today, we are the biggest movement of its kind. We've been able to see children across the world be initiators of change. So it's been a really, really extremely humbling and extremely moral responsibility. I keep saying, when schools continue to compete with each other, saying, what is my USP? I will not share. Then we remove the fact that we are here for all children, not just my children. I think that was a lovely, lovely journey that we have been part of. So that, sir, is a nutshell of the last 20 years.
That's very briefly done, but I can understand, yes. 20 years is a huge time with a lot of ups and downs and realignment, review, and then moving forward. But it's like seeing you gives us a lot of hope that sustaining yes. Things will make it happen.
If like you can see, right over there is Mr. Gandhiji. And yeah. I have him all over my school. Okay, I just have him to continue to remind me that while things get tough, I think this is a marathon race. And you have to have this for the long run. And I keep saying, even in 20 years, I still feel like going to school. And I just want to give you a small little glimpse. I'm sitting actually in my school right here.
Beautiful.
I live on the campus. And like I told you, here's Mr. Gandhiji, always reminding me that, boss, bahut kaam baki hai. So continue to have the stamina.
Your passion and your energy, just speaks everything about the last 20 years of journey, that you still have a lot. And then surely in the coming years and decades, you will create more magic and inspire more people to move on. So with your permission, we have received a huge lot of questions from our facilitators and the principals. In Oman, we have 21 schools, 21 Indian schools. So we have 21 Indian schools principals who are watching it. We have 2,000 teachers who are seeing it live on YouTube.
Wow.
So you can understand, like, with all what aspirations and what motivations they are looking forward to meet somebody like you online. So with your permission, can I ask you the first question, which is related to one of the slides that you have shown?
Please do.
So, thank you. So this question is from Mr. Reggie Oman, who is the principal of Indian School Ibra. And he says, keep transforming those culture, which is called 5 E's, empathy, ethics, excellence, then evaluation and elevation. All right. How a community school, which is generally a financially inclusive school, which is generally a low cost so that everybody can get educated, which is generally a crowded school because everybody should get education. So how a community school can imbibe your 5E model and bring change to move to the next level?
What is this gentleman's name?
Mr. Reggie, R-E-G-I.
Hi, Mr. Reggie. Well, I have to actually tell you a very simple thing. One is none of these values are elitist or require resources. So I think sometimes we forget that it's not your swimming pool or your gymnasium or your cafeteria that makes children believe. It is you. Finally, it is that teacher. We talked about role modeling, right? I keep saying one of the things that I find always confusing is that we tell our children to be brave and we tell them to be powerful and we tell them to be kind. And then the first bell that rings, we run off into a staff room or a principal's cabin. And at Riverside, I've actually designed the school to have zero. There are no principal cabins, there's no staff room. I keep saying you are a living curriculum. It doesn't require moral science classes. It doesn't require smart boards to get children to believe and be kind. It requires you. It requires you to listen. It requires you to demonstrate. We all know the science of learning. Baby see, baby do. People see, people do, right? So we have to be worth imitating. We have to be the adults that are worthy of being in front of our children. Just because you've done a BA doesn't mean you can teach. So I keep saying we forget that our body is a living curriculum. The way we smile, the way we reach out and talk to somebody. I keep saying children are learning what you're not teaching them. They're seeing you. They're seeing you in the bus. They're seeing you in the corridor. Are you kind of complaining about a parent? Are you bitching about a teacher? They're watching all of this. Then you cannot say, "Are yaar, ye banda, how are they not responsible or kind?" So I keep saying it doesn't matter whether your school is under a tree. It requires one adult. It requires one adult who believes and listens. So Mr. Reggie, I think you are a superhero and you have teachers who are superheroes. Just continue to believe that your role modeling is going to be the biggest change making. So when you sit with a group of children and listen and not say, okay, open the textbook and start learning. It starts with these small little shifts and changes. Try to have tea with them and not go into a staff room. You know, if you are the principal, don't sit in a cabin. Put your table right out in the corridor and just watch the magic that will happen when children will walk to you, you will listen, you'll tell a story. Suddenly, child says, oh my God, he's looking at me. He's listening to me. Oh, I'm important. And that is super exciting for a child. I remember I received this attention in a way only when I was 17 years old, sir, when I went to NID. And I remember sitting in a circle, again, unheard of, because most schools get children to sit in rows. Okay, and we see the backs of children for 15 years. I sat in a circle for the first time. And in that, the teacher, one of my faculty members, leaned and looked at me and said, tell me, Kiran, what do you like? And I kind of looked back and said, he's looking at me? I mean, am I interesting? I didn't realize that for 17 years. I was just told that I have to just sit, keep quiet. And if I'm good, then I will be rewarded. We reward compliance. We reward people to keep quiet. And we tell them, oh, that's respectful. So all of that shifted. And I realized that it takes that one relationship and the quality of the relationship to plant empathy, to plant ethics. It's that, right? So I think that's what I would just share as the learnings we've had.
Wonderful, wonderful. I believe, community schools start with the first E, that is empathy.
Yes,
that is
right.
The origin from where it starts.
Yes.
So that is something like, and everything that you said is about the teacher who is the light inside the classroom and the school. It starts from you.
Absolutely.
So that is
You're a lighthouse.
important.
I keep saying.
Wonderfully, you have addressed this, and I believe Mr. Reggie will be very happy to hear. And then
Mr. Reggie, are you happy? Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from Miss Leena, and she's from a Department of Physical Education, Sports. So she has mentioned that when she was going through all your videos and all that, there was a was no incident of children playing sports. It was
Ah,
all activities which were there, right? So she
Miss
was asking
Leela.
this. Yeah. So she's asking a specific sports program that your school follows, which is really inspiring to do.
Oh, we have a superb sports program at Riverside. And I have to say, I'm actually married to a sportsman. If anybody knows my background, I'm married to Mr. Geet Sethi, who's the 9-time world billiards champion. Okay, so
Okay,
I have
great.
a sports connection. I was never a sports person at school. I loved theater and dramatics and elocution and acting, right? So when I started Riverside, I knew the value of sports, but I run it exactly like how I did it at school. Oh, totally boring. And then I had this superb intern who'd come from Ireland to spend time 4 years at Riverside. And I have to say, sir, he turned the whole thing on its head. And we have, of course, we have our, what I will say, skill-based sports. That is football, basketball, inter-school, wo sab to theek hai. But we've changed the other two parts. We've created a wonderful sports as coaching. So the children run that program. They run it for their kids. They have to plan it. They have to design sports and that the experience by virtue of skill, attitude, and character. So it's a beautifully designed, it's called coaching. And the sports day, which we have, oh my God, it is superb. What happened was, again, sports days typically, if you're not a sports person, you'll say, "Arey yaar, my stomach is paining, I don't want to come." Because it's always the fastest, the quickest. We turned it palti on his head. We said the sports day has to be the most inclusive program. Oh my God, it's squads and there's design and there's chanting and there's speeches. So it becomes managers of every squad who are bidding for people on their teams. So suddenly the person who likes writing and not sports was the one who needed to come because the script writing or the speech would also get points. Then the designer who really didn't like sports would be bidded for because they had to make the logo and the chant. So suddenly it became a beautifully inclusive program. So we just completely shifted the purpose to say, can sports be the most looked forward to day, day in Riverside? So Miss Lena, I would encourage you to go through our website and see the videos. And whenever there's sports day, Miss Lena, please come to Riverside. You will have such a great time because all the teachers are taking part and we're dancing and we're playing and it is super cool. It is super cool.
Wonderful, wonderful. And it's a great invitation to all of us to go and see.
All of you, by the way, have to
Yeah.
come. Alex, first you,
Yeah.
okay? Alex and me have been talking.
All right, thank you, ma'am. I move on to the next question, which is from Mrs. Mizuma Lenin from Indian School, Nizwa.
Okay.
And she wants to know, what challenges did you face while setting up the school of this magnitude and dynamism? And how did you overcome them?
This is Miss Lena. Or who is she?
No, Mizuma, Mizuma. Yeah.
Miss Mizuma, the biggest challenge I have to tell you happened. Sir, look at this. 2001, I'm setting up the school. Okay, I put the ad in the papers on the 18th of January, 2001. I'm starting a school, Riverside, etc. Okay, I must have got calls of 15 only phone calls. Ye kidhar hai? Where is the school? Who is this? Okay. And I had some 15 names. Now I wanted to take these people to the building because I used to stay in the city and I had the house in the suburbs. I said, come, I'll show you the school on the 26th of Jan. Sir, 2001, 26th of Jan, what happened? The biggest earthquake hit Gujarat. An 8-pointer. Do you all remember that?
Mm-hmm.
That hit the day I was going to start the school. Now, how can there be a greater challenge than that? The teachers left, the parents left, the building got damaged, right? Now, I could have very easily at that time said, boss, this is terrible. I think this is an omen from God. I will please stop. I'll go off to Bangalore because I was born and brought up in Bangalore. And my parents said, oh, now Ahmedabad is a zone 5. You've come off to Bangalore. I don't know why I stayed and why I opened up the doors. But I opened doors in the June of 2001. I had some 25 students that joined and I had 5 teachers. But I want to say that when you have a magnitude like an earthquake, you just switch on those lights. an earthquake that still doesn't pull you down, then no other challenge is going to be any problem. We'll always have our simple earthquakes. It'll be parents who don't like something, or it'll be children who leave, or whatever. But if you can put back into perspective why you started something, then I don't think a challenge can take you away from that path. So, Miss Mizuma, don't worry, all will be well.
Right. If cause is bigger than the action, action will happen.
Yes.
Right. And when it comes to our own kids, when it comes to the children, we all
There's no
have
bigger cause.
extra, yeah, we have extra vow to take on and then do it. The next question is from Miss Anita Menon from Indian School, Bosher. She is asking the present scenario of online education where the human element is missing, and your entire project is a human-centric project. How you are still staying connected with online education and making the Surah now?
Miss Anita, you ask a very important question. I am sick and tired of seeing two-dimensional people. Frankly, if you ask me, I think learning has to be messy, and it has to be in front of you. And as a teacher, we have superpowers of peripheral vision. We can have our focus here and at 5 other places. But suddenly, online has removed all of those, those cues that come with education. I have to say that Riverside did a massive kind of deep dive into figuring out what elements of what we did offline we can still continue to do online. And how do we still bring those pieces about student agency, about empathy, about refinement and design thinking? I have to say that I don't think it has been like 100% transference online. You can't do that, right? There are clear challenges that come in. But I would like to say that portions of what we've created helped our children still stay connected, helped the parents, because suddenly it became the parent community that was involved, and we have an outstanding parent community. So we suddenly realized what we were not able to do offline with the multiple touch points with the parents, online offered such a great option. So I think we looked at what were the advantages that we got, doing the best within that, and also recognizing that we know that this is going to be a time that we're going to go through. Let's design well for it, but also knowing that finally we will have a lovely blended or dual program whenever we come back. So I think, in fact, they're saying that at the end of November is when we would probably have, we could start in-person school as well. So yeah, we did some elements really, really well. We had spark plugs, and we had advisories, and we had alumni circles. We had parent partnerships. We had our citizenship program going well. A lot of it, sir, we do co-creation. So a lot of our children became designers, and the parents also co-created with us. So that if you have as a default go-through mechanism and framework for designing anything going forward, co-creation is a fantastic framework to use. Don't do it for somebody, do it with somebody, always.
Great. I believe your perspective and looking at things that online has added so much value to things which otherwise we were missing out without giving any credit to online has now come up. So yes, we have to hold on to that add-on which online has brought in, and we do understand very soon we'll go back to the campus schooling. And this best practices of online will add so much of substance and so much of value to the entire education once we go back to the campus, that it is worth trying out and then doing and staying connected with whatever is possible.
I would just say, I think it's given more confidence to teachers about what they don't have to spend their time teaching in person. I think that's really important. If we don't learn from this, that there's lots of things children can learn by themselves, please don't waste time in campus doing it. I think that suddenly you have time as an advantage. You're suddenly a gifted time. And that time should be really used for really important stuff, like you said, for empathy or for agency, for real problems. So I think if we can gift ourselves the time that we kept thinking when they were here in campus, where do we have time? We have to do so many things. I think suddenly the flip is true. We've been given time that we should use well. So yeah.
Great. The next question is from Miss Sheena Bai Chandran, who is a teacher in Indian school IBRI. Her question is, I have been working in various CBSE schools for more than 20 years. It has been noticed that the mental health of the teachers is given less importance or ignored. And the schooling system is entirely child-centric with no place for, teacher to have a wellness and other things. So what is your take on that?
She's saying a very important thing. I'm surprised that she's possibly sensed those, and I think she makes a very, very important sort of. She spotlights a very important space. I think I keep saying student well-being cannot happen without adult well-being. An adult could be a teacher, a parent, whoever that is. And somewhere we forget that. We keep thinking that no teacher has to teach no matter what the well-being is. I'm a firm believer that you cannot, I keep saying infection, right? I keep saying using the word contagion. And contagion is that if you have a cold, somebody's going to get a cold. If you are stressed out, it is by default, the banda in front of you is going to be stressed. So I think the focus on teacher well-being is as important, if not more, than the focus on the student, because in a way, that adult is the conduit through which a child will notice what kindness and joy and happiness and learning looks like. If they only see a stressed face, if they only see a teacher who's angry, if they only see a teacher who is complaining, there's less likelihood that the child is going to sense that learning can be joyful and optimistic, right? And that comes even from parents. I don't just say this is a teacher's issue. I think any adult needs to have a sense of well-being. I think COVID has highlighted that more than any other time, saying that, while our children are feeling anxious, parents have been feeling a lot of anxiety at home. And that is feeding off the children. So I think going forward, I will not say going back to normal. Going forward, I would say the primary curriculum has to be well-being of our children and teachers. I would say that should be of urgent attention. And then going forward to figuring out what your school will otherwise do. But she's absolutely right. And at Riverside, I keep saying, we have 365 days of personal professional development. We do it through a hug. We do it through conversation. We will do coffee with Kiran as a way. We will do, of course, professional development. But so much it is to just listen, chit-chat time, talking to each other. How's it? We do home visits. So a lot of time is spent on building collegiality and congeniality with our teams. So we find that is very, very important.
Wonderful, wonderful. Next question is from Miss Sanofa from Indian School IBRI, and it's a beautiful question. I believe in this idea, catch them young, but many times because of the so-called completion of syllabus and parental anxiety, I'm not able to go along the path where I can catch them young. I have to leave halfway in pursuing the idea of catch them young. What could be done?
I keep saying, this is where we lose our purpose. I keep saying, if moment you move from purpose to pleasing parents, the game is pretty much gone. So if a school is caught up by the anxiety of pleasing parents, what is that? Homework zyada do, tests zyada do. I mean, where is the exam? Where is the test? Then you've pretty much lost the game. No matter what your value proposition in your school is. I've gone to so many schools, sir, where they'll be having these big boards. Every child is unique. Every child must have talent. All of that. When you go to a class, everybody's quiet. Because why? Because a parent needs a test or the parent needs. So I think in many ways, it needs very, very strong leadership to be able to be that buffer between parents and what is important. So I keep saying a maverick teacher doesn't change the game. It's a maverick, courageous, joyful, audacious leader that builds culture and constantly gives back the alignment to the lighthouse. What are we here for? What is every day looking like? And that allows the parent also to recognize what the school stands for. So in many ways, I find that the leader plays that wonderful sort of connection between the school and the parent, and what values together are collaborated on. So I would say never lose focus on what your goal is. Believe you me, that focus in the long run will always turn into something very powerful. So yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful. But don't you think that we have most of the schools have a leadership crisis because
Yes.
the academicians have moved on to become financial managers, and they are more turning around the institution, commercially than academically.
I've seen that, and I see that that is sometimes the greatest gap, because most leaders don't become leaders out of competency. It is either hierarchy or longevity. This banda has been with us 20 years, let's make him leader or whatever, right? And you're absolutely right. And leaders often then become administrators. And therefore, there's no leadership happening, there's managing happening. And people manage status quo very well. Why should we change it? Parents are anyway coming to us. We've got results. So that status quo is the most dangerous place to be at. So I think I think it's a massive opportunity for leadership to really play that courageous role. And you're right. I don't think we spend as much time developing leaders who are empathetic or ethical or courageous. We develop it as managers, and I don't think schools need managers. I think that's not something really. But you're right. I find that I've walked into schools and I can feel the magic, and you'll know that there will be a leadership that is building this magic. You'll find teachers who will be purpose driven. You'll have children who will have a voice. You'll have administrative staff that will be deeply connected. You will have less fear. You will have children, so you can sense it. It's called the smell of a place. What you see, what you hear, what you feel. So I would say yes, leadership is important.
So when you were talking, you have used empathy and ethical, together. Can they go together? Because when you empathize, you sometimes have to compromise with the ethics on that particular point of time.
Actually, no. And I'll like to share, and this is not my learning, but this is Howard Gardner. I remember asking him exactly this, and I said, Howard, how do you manage both? And he said something beautifully. He said, there is neighborly morality and there is ethics of the role you play. Very different. Neighborly morality is what you do with your cousins, children, etc. Are yaar, next time nahi karo. Next time nahi karo. Okay, that's neighborly morality. That has nothing to do with the ethics of your role. The ethics of the role is the choices you make when you join an establishment. And whatever their value proposition are, you uphold those. And I'll give you a small example. He had mentioned this case study which had happened where his friend's daughter had plagiarized on a particular paper. And it was so easy for him to just tell that child, see, don't do it next time. But he said that I am not only responsible to Harvard, the organization that has very strong ethics, but I also have to let the child know that these are non-negotiable. I can go back and say next time. So I think empathy comes with understanding that your action really has the positive impact, not the immediate impact. It is the long-term impact that you need to have. And often that comes with doing what is right over what is easy.
Great, wonderful. Next question is from Miss Rama K. Prasad. I don't know, like Miss or Mr. from Indian School Sur. And the question is, how far do you support educating the child in his or her mother tongue in the initial years? Will this bring about a change in the grasping power of the child when the medium of education changes in the later years?
Well, I think this is a very interesting sort of kind of a conundrum. I mean, there are so many sort of viewpoints to this. A lot of them, of course, and it depends on which demographic that you generally are from. When you're looking at underserved communities, learning in their mother tongue is a massive advantage, right? Because you basically build context into the learning. Having said that, at different demographics, the idea of young children being able to absorb any language that you teach in becomes a massive advantage that you should use, right? From even music as a language, to whichever mother tongue, etc. Interestingly, though, our homes currently are all multilingual. Okay, we are part English, we're part this. So we don't have any truth, what we call literate mother tongue that is being spoken anymore. I mean, I remember I came from Bangalore. My parents were Punjabi, and I had to learn part Kannada as well. I was massively confused. So the only language I have linguistic competency in is in English. I know a little bit of Punjabi, and I used to speak Tamil very well. At one point, watching Tamil movies, so huge fan of Rajnikant. But finally, I resort to using English as my primary medium. And I keep thinking that when you are in a medium of a school, which is say English medium school, it's a huge advantage to bring that into the culture and into the environment right off early. Not to say that's the only language you will speak, but offer enough opportunities to use it and replace critical words with the child's mother tongue. Because that builds concrete vocabulary in the mind.
Wonderful, wonderful. Another question is from
I like how Sir says wonderful, wonderful. It's like good child, wonderful, wonderful.
Thank you. So the question is from Princey Monga, who is a teacher in Indian school, Bosha. To what extent we should allow our children to make their own choices in life when they are young?
I don't think children are making choices in life. I think they are just making choices, and those choices can either empower children or disempower children. It's very simple. The more you come in and say no and direct those choices rather than guide those choices, it's basically these two words. Are you directing the choice and saying, sorry, that's not good enough, come here? Or are you guiding that this is also a possible way to go? So I think it's in that nuance that you figure out how that choice can either empower or disempower. So I keep saying, listening to children is a massive skill which we don't do enough. Teachers love speaking, instructing, telling, and teaching. But I don't think teachers are very good at listening and guiding and shaping that. So, and I think that's it. So I'll tell you another important distinction. The moment hobby as a word comes into your belief system, there is no choice for the child, because invariably children, either parents or teachers say, wo sab theek hai, wo hobby ke liye theek hai. But the real work is only with medicine and engineering. So I think it's very important to be reflective and to figure out what are we communicating to our children when they make the choices, right? Perfect. So when you say, no, this is not good enough, or this is only for a hobby, pretty much it's gone from there, right? Yeah.
Right. Wonderful. The next one is by Dr. N. Sujata from Indian School, Sur. It is very important to appreciate students for the effort made rather than the result they produce. But the academic report card always reflects on the marks scored, not on the effort or improvement shown. How this change can be introduced?
Well, there is enough data and enough research to suggest that it's the growth mindset. I think she's referring to the growth mindset of talking, not telling the child, oh, you're smart. I mean, that's basically intelligent. The moment you do that, they're going to take the easier path. But it is the effort. And by the way, if you continue to build that as a culture, it has statistical data to suggest that they will actually do better in your report card, if that is the qualification. But I don't think report card is a reason to do anything, frankly, if you ask me. I think that is such a linear, very limited way to talk about the plurality of a child's identity. And therefore, children should also know that the report card, for whatever it is just one small data point. But there are multiple other data points that you should offer the child through the years, not just 1 year, over the years, to let them have the sense of awareness to say, whilst yes, a report card exists, but it's only one small data point. And therefore, at Riverside, we've created a multiple menu of ways for a child to know and to show. To know I grow and to show I grow, right? And I think that's really where a school should put the effort on.
But many things children, they show it to when their teachers, they ask for it. But when it comes to parents asking or replicating something that they have learned, they're very, they're very brief on that. And if you ask them, okay, what happened today? They said nothing. Although they may have had a wonderful day. So how that anxiety and expectation of parent is fulfilled? When a child is performing in the school, it is not reflected in the report card, but you know that the child is learning, but parent is seeing that there is something missing.
Well, again, sir, this is it's not an easy answer, but we do a lot of separate ways in which we have multiple processes at school. One is called the Celebrate the Child, one is called Understanding, one is called MLV, one is called MTV, right? So over the year, we've timetable for multiples, right from the home visit. We start, of course, always with a home visit before even the school starts, and then an orientation, etc. So we have multiple touch points in the year to bring that full story of a child to the parents' notice, right? Anecdotal, etc. Because you're absolutely right. A lot of children, and we've realized a lot of the boys are reluctant to kind of say, "Oh, it's enough, it's good," because they don't want to get. And it's not a question of tension or anxiety. It just is a basic way to say, "Boss, everything's going well now. What's the problem? Why are you asking me questions?" Right? So, but when you know that different children respond differently, we therefore created multiple ways in which a parent would come to know the full story. So when we have conversations with the parents, we kind of know, so don't worry about it. They say, "Arey, the bacha doesn't say anything at home. What is happening?" He said, "Don't worry, we have this opportunity. We'll tell you the stories." So if you can create these different ways in which to communicate with a parent, then they're likely to get the more complete picture of a child.
Right. And that way, online education has improved, teachers'
Yes.
credentials because parents are seeing them in action. So now there
Absolutely.
is a more trust building that has happened and they appreciate the effort.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
Great. This question is very interesting and very funny also, but this is from Reggie Jogi from Indian School Mulada. The question is, how can we instill the feeling of discipline and responsibility in a child who misbehaves in the class but has got good caliber to learn?
If we had an answer to that, no, we will all be sitting in the United Nations. Well, this is why we teach. Everything is going to be. That's the beauty of a child. It is. It's like saying, why can't all husbands be like this or all wives be? It doesn't.
Yes,
I mean, that's why we are in this profession, because it is going to surprise us and challenge us, and give us opportunities for more design solutions. I think that we are expecting that all children behave a certain way, right? There is no one size fits all. We know that. And I think that's a super exciting opportunity for whoever this teacher who's asked this question to say, wow, this is interesting. I'm going to I will recommend they do one thing: shadow this child for a day. Just do that. A simple exercise. It's called Shadow the Child. It's a beautifully empathetic exercise. Quietly, from the time the child might sit in a bus till the child just shadow the child quietly. Suddenly you realize, my God, children are just sitting and listening for 80% of the time, or they're not moving. Suddenly it will help you change the way you look at your children. So I would say do that. Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful. Now, as we are coming close to the end of our time,
last question.
I will do a rapid fire with you.
Okay.
Okay. So why rapid fire? Because many of us have some preconceived notions with respect to the class strength, with respect to how many children in a section, with respect to how many children in a school. Like in Oman, we have a school with 100 kids also and 8,000 kids also.
Wow.
Okay, so the range is of that. So when our facilitators are sitting and listening to your wonderful ideas, experiment, and success, they may be having a lot of objective type question, which I will ask you. Okay, so it's a rapid fire. You have 1 minute time. All right. So what is the strength of your school?
No. Do I win a hamper at the end of this?
Yes. We will once again invite you to talk to us and keep inspiring us with your that will be wonderful. That will be wonderful.
Alex, after this, we have to do more work together. I'm coming to Oman.
Wonderful. We look forward to your visit.
Sure.
And meeting one-to-one will always, create a more connect and inspiration.
Yes.
Than seeing live. Okay. So what is the total strength of your school?
420. 420.
Wonderful. How many children are there in one section? Average, how many children are there in one section? 30. How many teachers are there per section? A mother teacher or two teachers are there, right? Your mother teacher concept is up to which particular grade? Your single teacher teaching all subjects. Single teacher teaching all subjects.
Till fourth.
All right. What is the average fees that you charge when you divide 420? Like how much it comes?
Well, actually, because of fee regulation committee, it has come down to 50%. So it will be 1,20,000.
All right. And what is the average salary that you pay to your teachers?
Around 40,000.
Great. Okay. After how many years you have made this particular project economically sustainable and running on its own?
7 years.
Great, great.
I broke even
What
only
are
in the 7th year.
Right, wonderful. Because people, they invest money and then they want the return to happen in the first year itself,
no,
which
it
will never
doesn't.
happen.
Yeah.
Right. So 7 years is a wonderful time. Now, tell me, what are the 2 important qualities that you look into your teachers when you hire them?
They should be younger than me and fatter than me. No, older than me and fatter than me.
Okay. All right.
No.
And
I'm looking at attitude and I'm looking at warmth.
Okay, wonderful. All right. Then how you orient and induct your teachers? Like how many days you take before they get into the class?
Well, in the younger grades, till 7th, a new teacher is a mentee for an entire year. For an entire year, they have to be mentored. Yeah. So it's a fairly sort of intensive orientation. Yes.
So which is the new concept that you are working on and which will come up in next 6 months or say 3 months time?
How to become a queen of any country. No. I am going to Riverside Learning Center has been the newest. It's super exciting. I sent, in fact, Alex a link. Actually, I sent you a link of my Riverside Learning Center. Yes. For me, we're transforming schools across the world now. In fact, we're transforming schools in Vietnam, in Malaysia, in China, of course, in India, hopefully in Lebanon. And I wanted to actually talk to you all about that. But that's, I think, really exciting because I've codified everything. All the process we do at Riverside have been codified. And so they work either in a school with 400 children. They work also with schools. We've been working with the Jindal schools. Each of them, some of them have 3,000, 4,000 kids. So I'm very, very excited to take that humane approach to the world.
Wonderful. That particular website has a lot of resources which people can read and then do it on yourself. So it's a wonderful knowledge sharing. The last question. Now, human-centered element is missing because of the lockdown. How you will revive or retouch it when children will come back to the campus?
Well, we've already started doing a little bit. We've just been taking children out to the park and playing with them. But I think we were just talking today that I think the first 2 weeks we're going to do no teaching. We're going to just have them come here and reconnect with the space, reconnect with us, spend some time walking around, just get that feeling of being reconnected to the physical space again, I think, and to find courage back. I find that there's so much fear. And I think the greatest curriculum now has to be to get our children to be courageous again. I feel for me, that is really, really important.
Wonderful. That's the end of the rapid fire, and you are the proud winner of the hamper that we have agreed on. And we look forward to your visit to Muscat very soon. And as we are closing it, please give one final takeaway to all our facilitators, something that they should never compromise with.
Well, I wouldn't say the compromise, but I have learned over the years that, when people keep saying, what is the one message to teachers? For me, the message I very simply have learned is that you only have today. It is not about tomorrow, next week, next year. You only have today. And if today you invest in a little bit to make a child a little bit kinder, a little bit more courageous, that's a terrific day that has gone by. So please, you're not delaying it. It's today. That's it.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you very much. Mr. Alex and Mr. Vinoba, sir, you would like to ask something to ma'am, or shall we conclude?
Mr. Alex, was it okay? Did I pass, Mr. Alex?
A plus, and if there is something beyond A plus, I would give that.
Wonderful.
Thank you, Alex. It was so lovely. And really, thank you for all. If there are 2,000 teachers, God bless you all for the work you do, sir, and all of you, and to Mr. Samuel and running 20, how many, sir? 21 schools
21,
in Oman?
21.
I mean, such a wonderful impact you all make. So God bless you all. Please, let's stay connected. I would love to explore more ways for us to work. Alex, let me know what the audience felt, and if there are any questions or feedback, please feel free to let me know.
Definitely,
I don't
yes.
know who Mr. Gokul Das and Mr. Vinoba is. Hello, you all have both been very
Yeah,
quiet.
please, yeah, please, Gokul Das sir,
Mr.
you can raise your hand. That's an easy way to identify somebody in the class, you know.
Dr. Gokul Das is the Assistant Education Advisor in heading the operations, and Mr. MP Vinoba is the Senior Principal and Education Advisor to the Board of Directors. Yes,
Oh, very good. I'm in very illustrious company. Yes, I would love to explore further. I think it'll be such a unique opportunity for us to collaborate. I think children across the world need it, but more, of course, our children from India. I mean, we have to do amazing things with them. Yeah.
And you are leaving us with a lot of pressure now to bring you here physically, because that
Yes.
will be the kind of demand that will come from all 21 schools now.
I would be delighted.
I think we'll
Thank
make
you,
it happen
everybody.
soon.
Yes. Thank you.
Great.
God bless. Bye.
Thank
Stay
you, ma'am.
safe.
Let me propose the formal vote of thanks. All
Okay.
right, and I believe, like after listening to you, we understand that the purpose of teaching is either to get inspired or inspire. So we are only having two options to do. And I am deeply inspired, like all of us here in Muscat. And thank you very much for sharing your thought and spending a great and inspiring evening with all of us. Thank you very much, ma'am, for accepting our invitation to be the guest speaker and inspiring us with your work, thoughts, and most importantly, your persona. Your energy, your passion, and the commitment that we see in your voice when you communicate is really motivating, and it can make even a dead person walk and run and then win the race. So that is a wonderful thing that we have seen in you, and we look forward to all our facilitators and the teachers derive that passion and energy when they are dealing with the kids. I also extend my heartful gratitude to the chief guest, Dr. Bibi Samuel, Chairman, Board of Directors, Indian Schools, Oman. Also to the President, Mr. Ajayan P. and the School Management Committee, Indian School, Bosher, for their support, guidance, and making this event happen. I'm also thankful to the Senior Principal and Education Advisor, Mr. Vinoba MP, Assistant Education Advisor and Head of Academic Initiative, Dr. Alex, Operation Manager, Mr. Gokul, principals of various schools, facilitators for attending the live program, and the technical team for making it happen. Thank you very much, everybody. With a collective effort, we have defeated COVID-19 to a large extent, and soon we will come out as a winner. And once again, the school will become a happening places, and we look forward to that. Thank you, everybody, for joining us, and have a great evening and great National Day celebration tomorrow. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Bye, everybody. God